Well, it's time to bring in Peter Mullen for Health and Wellbeing. Peter, you're back for another week. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Look, this week we're going to be talking about what you guys call our second brain.
Yeah, exactly. Today's.
Can you please identify the second brain, please?
Well, it might not be what people are thinking.
Okay.
So anyway, today is actually Mental Health Day, World Mental Health Day. So the focus is on bringing awareness to mental health in the workplace, etc. So our topic today, and it's a topic, I think I have done this one before, but it's such a neat topic. It's how our gut and the balance of microbes, particularly and gut function, actually plays a role in our mental health.
I guess having an unhealthy gut has the ability to control your mind just a little bit. That's a little bit scary for my money.
Yeah, look, it is. And for a long time, us naturopaths have called the gut the second brain. So, and there's a lot more research coming out to confirm this fact that, there's more messages go from our gut to our brain than there actually is from our brain to our gut.
Everywhere else.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how do we know what when we've got an unhealthy gut?
Well, it's an interesting question. And probably the best way to tell that your gut's healthy, because you want a healthy gut, number one is you want to have minimal symptoms. So you want to make sure that what you're eating, you're not getting any bloating or excessive wind or strong smelling wind. You're not getting any heartburn or reflux. So basically, when we eat food, like our digestive system's pre-programmed, so once we've eaten it, we shouldn't have to hear from it again. And the other thing, obviously, to really track on whether your gut's working well is to check out your poos every day.
Oh, wonderful. Lovely.
It's really important to, take a bit of a look when you get up off the toilet and just check out what your poo's like, the colour, the smell, the shape. And there's a really neat chart you can get called...
How long are we supposed to be in the restroom for, Peter? Most of us are straight in, straight out.
Well,
but you've got the detective work happening.
Yeah, if you think about it like it is, it's the waste product. Like the stool's 2/3 made up of bacterial waste as well as food residue. So it's the bits and pieces that we don't need, plus the cell turnover of our gut wall coming away, plus bacterial debris. So you want to make sure that it's a good, healthy-looking stool. And you can actually download a chart called the Bristol Stool Chart.
Of course you can.
And you can put that chart up on your toilet wall if you want, and then you can have a picture and have a look every day to see whether your stools are actually healthy or not.
Can't believe I'm going to ask this question, Peter, but what actually defines healthy in that department?
The shape of the stool.
Mm-hmm. What are we looking for that's a healthy shape?
We're looking at like a...
You're the expert, Peter.
Absolutely. So you're looking for a big smiley log, or you're looking for like a Chiquito bar, that's sort of convoluted in the shape of the large bowel. Okay. And you're looking at using your bowels, clearing your bowels between 1 to 3 times a day. And you definitely don't want really loose stools. You definitely don't want like rabbit pellets. You want that sort of, like a banana or a...
So you say 1 to 3 times a day. A lot more than that would define that we've got some problems there?
Yeah. Either way, like so I've had a patient just this last week telling me that she goes to the toilet twice a week. But interestingly, she doesn't necessarily feel that she's constipated, because when she goes, she's not having any trouble going. Mm-hmm. But it just takes 3 or 4 days before things happen. So with her, I suspect that she's got a bit of what I would call a lazy bowel, or some bowel transit. Like the peristaltic action's not working as well as what it could.
Okay.
So checking out your stool, and as I said, having minimal digestive symptoms is the best way to tell that your gut's in as good as health as possible.
So what are some of those digestive symptoms that we should be looking out for as well?
Well, the irritable bowel type stuff, bloating, wind, bowel variability, heartburn, reflux, they're all gut related issues.
Okay. And what happens if we end up having too much bad bacteria in our gut?
Well, it's interesting. So there's 3 ways that our gut can affect our mood, including things like symptoms like depression, anxiety. Number 1, symptoms of gut inflammation can, like with cramping and irritable bowel, can actually cause confusing messages to be sent from your gut to your brain that will actually increase your levels of anxiety. So it's the age-old story. Is it the stress causing the IBS, or is it the irritable bowel causing your nervous system to turn on and your anxiety levels to go up? So
chicken and egg.
Chicken and egg.
Fair call.
Secondly, if you're also suffering from a bit of a leaky gut, and we've talked about that before on this show, where very small fragments and of toxins and waste products from bacteria or food particles crossing the gut wall where normally they shouldn't. Once those particles are in the blood, it causes your immune system to trigger an inflammatory response. And these inflammatory complexes have been found in rat and mice studies in the brain tissue of rats and mice. So there's this link between what we call the gut immune brain axis, and linked to things like brain fog, anxiety, depression, can play a role with conditions like autism, behavioural conditions like ADD and ADHD.
So it can be quite serious.
Yeah, absolutely. Gut health. And finally, and one of the third reasons is if you have an imbalance or the wrong type of bacteria in your gut. And as you can imagine, your large bowel's like a garden. And, if it's looked after well, you put the right fertilizer in, you water it, etc., you get a good, healthy, robust bacterial flora. And they play, we've talked about the role that good, healthy bacteria play, numerous times. But there's been some really interesting studies. And one human study, they looked at people with major depression and found that the bacteria in the feces differed from healthy volunteers. No, with the whole microbiome, it's still not black and white. Like, it's still a lot of research needs to be done. In mouse studies, they found that changes to the gut bacteria from antibiotics, probiotics, and even specific breeding techniques are associated with anxious and depressive behaviours. And they found that, this is interesting, they found that those behaviours could be transferred. So if there was certain mice that were given antibiotics which disrupted their gut flora, ended up with anxiety or depression, they could sounds gross, but they could then do a fecal transplant from those mice, put the poo from one mouse put the microbiome from one mouse into the gut of the other mice, and those mice would show symptoms of anxiety and depression.
Wow.
So, sort of early stages, but it kind of makes sense that our gut flora has been talked about as being one of our largest organs. There's 3.5 kilo or 10 trillion bacteria live in our gut, and just starting to see more and more the profound effects that they have.
It certainly all adds up to something, Peter, doesn't it? Well, look, we'll come back with a little bit more of health and well-being. Peter, how gut controls our mood. We're learning lots and lots of things today.
Well, it is. It's such a massive area, and our
particularly with the mice earlier.
Yeah.
You transferred a bit of yucky stuff from one to the other, and their mood just changed. That's just blown my mind. But look, we know if we've got problems where our gut is sort of unbalanced, there are ways, aren't there, that we can rebalance our gut and clear our mind. Please tell us.
Absolutely. Well, just interesting. We were just talking with Jess in the break about making kombucha.
You want to do this story, don't you?
No, kombucha is just an interesting thing. It's from the one of the ancient Chinese dynasties, and it was called the elixir of life, actually. So it was seen as a really health promoting. So it's been around for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just describing to Mark and Jess about that you actually make it using what's called a SCOBY, which is this fungally looking thing that's actually a symbiosis of yeast and bacteria. So they look absolutely gross when you're making them.
It sounds like a disease, Peter. Stay back. I do not want to get SCOBY. I do not want to get SCOBY.
Have you tried kombucha?
Clearly not.
Okay.
Clearly not.
We'll have to bring some in for Mark.
Okay,
Jess.
thank you for that.
All right, I'll bring some of my daughter's making at the moment. She's got big jars around the house, so you just don't want to go upstairs of a night time if it's dark, because you never know what might be climbing out of one of those pots.
I get the feeling you don't want to find out what's climbing out of those pots either, but that's another story. So we just get back to rebalancing our gut and clearing our mind, because I think we've lost track, Peter.
So with the gut, like with stress, with anxiety, particularly, like as we were saying before, it's World Mental Health Day, and one of the keystones, I think, to heading towards getting your anxiety and low mood under control is, and it sort of makes sense, having the best health you possibly can. And a lot of that starts back with our diet, what we're eating, and with the balance of good and bad bacteria through the gut. One of the big challenges with our gut flora is that it's not so much the worst thing that's changed with our gut flora is that we're losing species. Our gut flora is not as diverse as what it used to be, and that seems to being linked with increase in allergies and maybe more of a connection with these health conditions. So you want a nice, healthy, diverse gut flora.
So this is a problem, isn't it? If we're losing gut flora species, we obviously want to go back in the other direction if we can. So what do you think some of the best ways to encourage healthy gut flora?
Well, number one, and this is where, depending on how far out of balance your gut is, it's sometimes worthwhile. You can get what's called a digestive stool test done. So you can actually get a stool sample and send it off to certain
You are
labs.
full of great ideas today, Peter. First, you've got us in the bathroom just examining for around 10 minutes, and then we're going to send some off somewhere else.
Well, that's the joy of that person anyway. So you send off a stool test, and it will actually give you a breakdown of your gut flora.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really neat. So for kids particularly that might have mental health issues, sometimes we'll find parasites or strep infection or staph infection actually in their bowel that shouldn't be there. So if someone's got a serious health issue, we'll often recommend doing a digestive stool analysis to really nail down what is going on. But for most of us, a great place to start is to increase your intake of both prebiotic and probiotic foods, and as well as taking a good quality probiotic supplement. And I sort of think this day and age, like, our gut flora gets knocked around by lots of things: antibiotics, alcohol, coffee, sugar, chlorine in our water. Chlorine in our water is awesome. We can get good quality water, but it's designed to sterilize and kill bacteria.
Some of which we need.
Some of which we need. So there's lots of what I call gut disruptors.
What about with the probiotic foods? Can you give us some great examples that'll just give us a hit?
Yep. So probiotic foods would be something like kombucha.
It keeps coming up.
Yogurt, but it needs to be homemade yogurt. Like commercial yogurts, even though they do say that they contain the strains that we think of as healthy, they're often only fermented for a certain period of time. You're not getting the good quality, or you're not getting the numbers like you do if you can learn how to make your own yogurt. And at our talk tonight, we will be doing a coconut yogurt as well as kombucha. So learning how, and on our website, we've got a great recipe going on to how to make kombucha, and also how to make your own coconut yogurt, which you can ferment for the right amount of time. Make sure you're getting all those good bacteria.
Peter, you mentioned also probiotic supplements. How do we choose the right one of those?
Look, the most important one is the one I'm recommending a lot at the moment is what I consider to be one of the best ones I've come across. And it's got 3 different strains: one that works on increasing your commensal or your good bacteria, one that works on healing and repairing leaky gut, and one that works on turning down or improving your immunity, particularly associated with the gut. So it needs to be one that's tested. I'm not a big fan of multi-strain probiotics. There's not been a lot of research on probiotics that have 5 or 10 different types of bacteria. I like to stick to the ones that have been well researched, and they needs to be a probiotic that actually can survive the acid in your stomach and the bile from your gallbladder to actually get down to where it's going to make a difference.
Anyway, before we wrap up with how gut controls your mood, good afternoon, Jane. You have a question for Peter.
Yeah, I do. Peter, how do you feel about kefir for a probiotic?
Yeah, kefir's a great probiotic.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually a symbiote of bacteria and yeast as well.
Yes.
So it's great. It's up there with the yogurt cultures and
good.
that. So good. Good to go.
Okay, terrific.
Thank you very much for that, Jane. Nice simple one to finish off with, Peter.
Yeah, simple's good.
It is.
Simple's good.
We don't want to brain tax too much on our way out the door. So just to wrap up with gut controlling our mood, all of that, what are the studies actually telling us, Peter, at the moment? There's been a bit of literature out there.
So look, and it's such a big growing area of interest and research. And a lot of as I was saying before, it's the greater the number of different species bacteria in your gut, the less chances you have of experiencing anxiety and depression or an exaggerated stress response. So as I was saying before, the microbiome diversity is shrinking. Our gut flora is totally different to what it was 100 years ago. And this is, I guess it
speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It does, and it's sort of a bit synonymous, I think, with what's going on in the planet. Pollution, toxicity, that's happening internally as much as what's going on with the planet. So, and the bees are being affected, so obviously our gut flora.
Yeah, which is very, very sad. Okay, some next talks that are coming up around that you and your team will be involved with?
Yes. So tonight we've got
Are
our
you sure?
gut.
You know this stuff, Peter?
I was just going to mention one more thing.
Of course you were.
So I think I've got a blog on our website that actually has a list of prebiotic and probiotic foods. So if people want a bit more comprehensive idea of what foods to eat to get the best to feed those good bacteria, and and as I said, I'm a really big fan of taking a probiotic supplement, one that's been, shown to get through to where it needs to be. And research is sort of showing that, taking the right probiotic can help to improve the symptoms of anxiety by reducing cortisol, as well as helping people with suffering the mental symptoms associated with chronic fatigue, depression, and anxiety. So, so it's exciting stuff. But, always coming back to, diet is cornerstone, and being as healthy as possible is going to help.
Fair call. Are those next talks, Peter?
So talk tonight, Natural Remedies for Gut Health, and we're doing a fermenting demo on how to make sauerkraut, kombucha, and coconut and cashew yogurt. Now, unfortunately, tonight's booked.
Great, so we can't go to that one next.
So you can't go to that one, but if we get enough interest, we may even be able to do another gut one, maybe in November, because this one sold out or was booked out before we even had a chance to advertise it, which is great.
I'd love the recipe on that yogurt. That sounded fantastic.
Yeah, it's easy peasy to make. So it's on our website, but I will personally get someone to email it to you.
Thank you, Peter. And on the 24th?
Yep, we've got a talk in our office, Natural Remedies for Thyroid Health. David Marston, one of our practitioners, is doing that. And our naturopaths will be at the farmers markets on Sunday doing free iridology assessments. So if you're at the farmers markets and you want to have someone have a look in your eyes, which sounds very romantic for a Sunday, and iridology gives you a good overview of your health. So so go along to the farmers market. If you're at the farmers markets, make sure you stick your head in and say hello to one of the pracs.
Excellent. And next week on the radio, we're talking about why we should be eating organic.
Yeah, I thought we'd revisit this one about the clean 15 or the dirty dozen and the clean 15.
I like the sound of that. So Peter Mullen covering everything today. We've gone from, your leaky gut, we've covered poo, and the king of romance, by the sound of things, is going to have a look into your eyes. Alrighty, some details about this at mullenhealth.com.au. You can podcast the program at 2NURFM.com a little bit later today. Thank you, Peter. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Mark.
Peter Mullen and Health and Wellbeing at 2NURFM 103.7.